The Nun 2 comes to theaters this weekend. Is it scary? Is it better than the first one? Is it worth seeing? Let's find out right now. What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Josh and we're going to review The Nun 2 today, which takes place in 1956 France, where a priest is violently murdered and Sister Irene begins to investigate. She once again comes face to face with a powerful evil. Alright, before we go full in depth on my thoughts on The Nun 2, I do want to talk about The Nun 1, because I first watched that for the first time a couple days ago, and I thought that one wasn't good at all. Not gonna lie, I didn't have any fun with that one. I thought it was really boring. I thought the characters were really weak, and I didn't really care about their intentions or if they got hurt in the movie. Even when they got hurt by the nun, I was like, I don't care about you, so I don't care about the movie. Yeah, the writing was really weak on the first one. The plot moved so slowly. Pacing was just very off. So I went into The Nun 2 with kind of more like really open expectations, kind of like no expectations at the same time, because, you know, I wanted it to be good, but also I was like, I don't know. I don't really care if I see this or not. So I went into it kind of like with no expectations. And, you know, I think it is better than the first. I think some parts are kind of like the first, where it's so slow that it's boring. Some parts are like really good, so much better than the first. Kind of reminds me of the Conjuring movies, because the Conjuring universe is a really interesting universe, because they have this way of really calling back to each other Conjuring movie at the end of them, and this one does do a really cool thing at the end of it. It does have a post-credit scene. Stay looking forward to that. It does connect to the main universe, which is awesome. Teases something at the end. I'm not going to spoil it though. But yes, I think the Conjuring universe does work a lot in some ways, but it doesn't work a lot in a lot of other ways. Like, I didn't care for all the Annabelle movies. I don't know why we got an Annabelle trilogy. Don't care for that. All three Conjurings, though, I think they're very strong, because Ed and Lorraine Warren are such very fascinating characters. So yeah, I think this one is better than the first Nun, because I think it works a lot, and that third act is really strong in this movie. The cast of this one has Thaisa Farmiga returning as Sister Irene, and I think this is an awesome cast, but I think Thaisa, she plays Irene, as I said. I think it's so cool that she's in this movie, because her sister also is in the Conjuring universe and plays Lorraine Warren. I think that's so cool that the sisters are both in the same universe. I don't know how they made that happen, but I think it's really cool. Storm Reed from Missing, that release this year, is also in this movie. She has a small role, but I think she does great whenever she's on screen. And Jonas Bloquet might not be getting that last name right. He plays Frenchie, or known as Maurice. I think he's easily the best part of this movie. He has some great characteristics to him. His character is very nice to a lot of other characters, especially Sophie, and he works at this kind of boarding school, and he's nice to all the students. He helps protect some of the students, and I think he does a great job. I think Jonas is a great actor in here. I think he deserves a lot more work, and I loved his character. Maurice, as I said, the best character of the movie. A lot of stuff happens to his character. Like, I was surprised at how much stuff happens to him. And Irene literally had such an upgrade this movie. As I said, I did not care about her character in the first Nun, but Sister Irene in this movie actually did really great. And I wish we saw more of Irene and Maurice together, but you only see them really in the third act of the movie, the last third, where everyone gets together to face off against the nun. And, you know, the nun, I don't know, sometimes the nun, you know, they try to show the nun in like a really kind of a weird way. They try to hide her in the shadows to make her like look more scary, but I think they do overuse that a little bit, so it doesn't really get scary. You just notice a shadow and you're like, oh, is the nun gonna show up behind the shadow? And I'm like, it's not that scary. But when they zoom onto her face sometimes in those scary shots, sure, I get scared a little bit. At the same time, no, I think it's a little wacky, that editing. And as we get to the horror section of this movie, you know, some parts I did find scary, especially some parts in that third act, because I thought the third act was so strong, had some really good horror elements, even though I could hardly see anything, because this movie is really dark. But it's best to see it on the theaters, because if you watch it anywhere other than the theater, you're not going to see anything. But yeah, I think that the scary parts really work in that third act. I think the scary parts in the first and second act are pretty weak. There's a lot of weird editing going on, because they try to do that weird editing to make it look more scary, but I don't think it works really that well, to be honest, especially when they're just trying to zoom in, zoom out, and do all that fancy editing, because you don't know what's going on. It gets a little too convoluted at some points, especially in that third act when there's so much happening at one part. I feel like it does get a little convoluted, but I can't lie, I did have fun during that third act. I feel like that's the most fun in the movie. Kind of reminded me of the original Conjuring movies. So yeah, I think the third act is such an upgrade of the first two acts, because the first two acts are pretty boring at some parts. They're trying to explain a lot, and I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, when's the action gonna start? So in the third act, the action did start, and I was happy when it did. I think it all works a lot there. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. So as I said, the first 2 acts are kind of slow, but it really does get to that 3rd act and it ramps up to like level 8 where everything just goes crazy, and I really liked it. And the ending, as I said, I really liked the ending. I really came around to the characters this time around. I really felt for them. And as I said, the 3rd act does get a little scary at parts. So if you're not good at horror movies, maybe you won't like that 3rd act. And it does have a nice post-credit scene, I will say that. So overall, The Nun 2, I will say it's an upgrade from the original, but it's not great. You know, there's still a lot of stuff that you could have done better. And I think you're still missing Ed and Lorraine Warren, which is, I mean, it does take place way in the past, but I think those characters are just so big in the Conjuring universe and add so much to the movie. You're missing them a little bit, but I feel like our characters here with Irene and Maurice, I feel like they upgraded so much. You finally care for them a little bit, and The Nun does have some very scary moments in that 3rd act. So overall, The Nun 2, I'd give it like a 5.5 out of 10. I could raise if I keep thinking about it and like it more, but I will say it's better than the first one. And that 3rd act, I will watch it again when it comes on in Max. Maybe not the first 2 acts, but I will say the 3rd act is strong. So let me know what you guys thought of The Nun 2 in the comment section down below. Make sure you leave a like on this video, helps out a lot. Subscribe to the channel. I upload almost every day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.